This is the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast coming to you from just after the full-time whistle has been blown at Tallaght Stadium. Shamrock Rovers beating Celje 3-1 on the night after extra time. That's a 3-2 victory on aggregate. It means that they have got group stage football guaranteed. Whether or not that's the Europa League or Europa Conference League has to be decided, but they are there. Also tonight, St. Pat's with a fantastic victory away in Baku. They beat Saba by 1-0. El Bazzetti with the only goal of the game. We'll be hearing from Stephen Kenny and getting the analysis of Keith Treacy a little bit later on. Two big wins for Irish clubs in Europe today. It's an appropriate way to honour the memory of Jim McLaughlin. We wouldn't be in this kind of position. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have the league we have if it wasn't for people like Jim McLaughlin. And we'll take time to remember his management career, his playing career, and just talk generally about what he meant to the League of Ireland in a while. First, let's get some reaction from Tallaght Stadium. Analysis to come from Barry Murphy. But first, Ronan McNamara has been talking to those around the Rovers camp. Those interviews are going to be recorded after I do this opening link. So even I don't know who's coming up. But I guarantee you, whoever it is, they're going to be in quite the good mood.
It's
amazing. So I told about goals this year to finally make the group stages and to finally do it. It's an incredible feeling. It's a special night in Tallaght. I'm one to remember for sure. But we knew coming back to Tallaght, playing on the surface in front of our own fans, that we in with a right chance. And they willed us on towards the end when we were kind of needed to push. And it's amazing. It's great to be able to share with the fans now. I think it was a little bit edgy, which the European games are. But I think that brings the best out of us. We play with a bit of an edge. And I think you saw that the first half, we were resolute in defence, kind of limited down to very little, and we showed the attacking threat and got some good goals out. But we've got a great game next week against PAOK, which we can really go and enjoy and have a chance of making the Europa League, which would be amazing. That's still the objective. But regardless, we know we have some titles to look forward to, and how can you not be excited about that?
It is the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast, and we're still in Tallaght Stadium. I'm sitting beside Barry Murphy, former Shamrock Rovers, St. Pat's and Bohemians goalkeeper. As we sit here, we're watching Graham Burke and his son out on the pitch, and his son has just taken a shot from the edge of the 6-yard box, and he taps it home and gets a huge cheer from the Rovers fans in the South Stand, who have been making noise all night, and they're excited about life. And why wouldn't they be? Because their team are in the group stages of Europe. Whether or not it's the Europa League or the Europa Conference League, well, that has to be confirmed. But either way, Barry Murphy, it's a good thing. Actually, before I get your opinion, in my excitement of the introduction at full time, I forgot to do a little run through as to what actually happened in this game. Rovers went 1-0 up. Watts with a penalty about a half an hour in. I actually just arrived in time for that, because I was coming over from the Croke Park Hotel where we did the commentary for St. Pat's against Saba. And Ferrugia scored a really good goal from outside the box, left-footed, low shot. Keeper could do nothing as it went into his bottom corner, so it was 2-0 at the break. Celje equalised. They levelled up the tie in the second half. That brought us into extra time, and then Graham Burke scored a lucky enough goal. Now, he carried it well, his shot was on target, but the keeper will be desperately disappointed with how he did with it. It went under his body. And after that, Rovers scored again, or so they thought, with Ferrugia. VAR, I suppose, gave them the penalty, and then it took that fourth goal away. But they hung on in the end, and as I say, hung on to that spot in the group stages. Barry Murphy, what did you make of it all?
You'll have to forgive my voice, I'm knackered and it's nearly gone, but what a night, Oisin. It was incredible, and Stephen Bradley got it spot on tonight. It was Oisin Langan, the team sheet came out, and Jack Byrne and Graham Burke were sitting on the bench, and they're thinking, right, are they going to try and hold them to half time and introduce the quality in the second half? But Shamrock Rovers came out like a house on fire. Neil Ferrugia running riot down this right hand side. The manage was taken off at half time, but he could have been taken off after 20 minutes. He was running all over him down this side, and they got a penalty, a long ball into the box. Goalkeeper came out to the edge of the box, and as soon as he came there, my alarm bells were still going in my head from being a goalkeeper. When you get to there, you've either got to win the ball or you're taking him down. Initially it looked like he got the ball, but referee was in a bad position, didn't see it, and we could see he didn't actually get a touch on it. Went to VAR, penalty, and Dylan Watts calmly slots into the top corner. Brilliant, but no more than Shamrock Rovers deserved. And again, that man Neil Ferrugia running right down this right hand side, a throw in from Honohan. He drops it across his body, he drops his shoulder. nobody comes out to meet him, and there's a conquest at the edge of the, or an inquest, I should say, at the edge of the box as to who's going to go out and meet him. Nobody does. Neil Ferrugia unleashes a great shot into the bottom corner, and that's 2-0. It's a brilliant half-time score from Shamrock Rovers.
Then Selje got a goal, deservedly so, in the second half, and that levelled up the tie.
Yeah, we knew they were going to start cheating a little bit, going to have overloads in certain areas, and those overloads usually come on the wings on either side of full backs, and Honohan just got caught ball watching a little bit. It was over on the left hand side, the ball crossed in. Honohan doesn't open his body quite as much, and he just nips in at the back post. It's a really good finish, to be fair. Caught it on the volley and past poles, hapless in goals. Nothing really could do about it, and a minute later they nearly got in again. It always happens kind of at Shamrock Rovers this season. They nearly get hit with a second sucker punch, but thankfully got through that, and I managed to take it into extra time.
And then the goal came early enough in extra time. Graham Burke carrying it well. Yes, he got a bit of luck, but sometimes, as Andy Gray used to say, we're still allowed to quote Andy Gray, he's not totally cancelled. If you don't buy a ticket, you won't win the raffle.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there was an inquest about that first goal from Neil Ferrugia, it wasn't answered, because Graham Burke does the exact same thing, cuts back onto left-footed shot, nobody comes out closing, gets a good shot on, keeper has to do better. He can't decide whether to turn his palms out or in. Kind of goes to fall on it, and it goes in that gap between his hands and his chest, goes under him, and that's the 3-1 lead for Shamrock Rovers.
And they hung on. Selje did have chances, and they put a lot of pressure on.
Yeah, they put huge pressure on, and they were always going to do that again. It's similar to the last 10 minutes of the game. They started cheating and went in around the side, just didn't quite get in as many chances. And again, Rovers had a goal disallowed, and to go 4-1 up, it was taken back off them, and it was Darragh Burns, I think, just had the ball. He slotted with his right foot, but again, VAR scuppered it this time, and it was taken off, chalked off.
Let's talk about the Rovers setup for the game, because we've talked about the incidents and the goals. I haven't seen a whole pile of them in the flesh this year, funnily enough. Back four it appeared to be tonight. Was that usual? Was that out of the blue? Where did that come from?
No, it started as a back three and five in the middle. It just fell back. There was such overloads going on the outside, and Trevor started to show signs of tiredness. He just inevitably dropped back into that left back position, and that's where they started to find areas down the right hand side. Honohan as well started to fall a little bit deeper, and they were making chances down the sides of that back three. But Shamrock Rovers defended well, but Dylan Watts was phenomenal, and Pico Lopez at the back. Just at the back three in general, they were excellent, and great running from Aaron Green as well.
When you win, it kind of covers up any failings or anything that may not have been done so well. Do you think maybe your changes could have been made a bit earlier in the second half, because they were lacking in energy, and Selje did create chances, they did create openings. Now, luckily enough, they only took one.
Yeah, I'd suspect it was probably issues there with maybe Jack Byrne.
Just before you go, Con Murphy has to run off here. I want to give him his due, because this is a big night for all Shamrock Rovers fans. Con, how are you feeling?
Oh, God, Jesus, I can hardly talk, Oisin.
It's not very good for a commentator, is it?
What a night for the league. With Pats winning earlier on today as well, it's just kind of a bit of a statement. And, the people who came here tonight got amazing entertainment, great excitement, great drama, great tension, and it's what it's all about.
We're going to dive into it a bit more in a few minutes, but before you head off, Con, I know that you followed Rovers when Jim McLaughlin was here, and sadly he passed away today, and I said it in my intro that the wins for St. Pat's and Rovers, I know he didn't manage Pat's, but he did manage Rovers. It was an appropriate way to honour a legend, honour an icon, and a man without whom, and people like him, we wouldn't have the product we have now.
I was fortunate to be a Rovers fan in the mid-80s as well, when that team was winning leagues under Jim McLaughlin, and like everybody you talk to who knew the man will tell you what an absolute gent he was. I was saying to Barry earlier on, he did a few co-commentaries and stuff with us on radio down through the years in RTE, and he was always an absolute gent. He was a tough manager, tough guy. I saw him, I was on an away trip in Budapest. Rovers played Honved, and Fran Hitchcock went down, got injured, but he kind of sprung back up onto his feet very quickly. And back in the hotel afterwards, I was a fan there. Jim ate Fran Hitchcock for lunch. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, you are. Go ahead.
You go down, you stay down, and you can run that fucking clock down. You shut fucking in. So he was a tough man, but but the players loved him, and he was a competitor. He was a winner, obviously. 8 league titles with 4 different clubs, and obviously 3 of Rovers, 4 in a row in the 80s. And he was an absolute gent. And the last time I met him was at the Aviva. He was there they were recognising a Dundalk team that had won the cup, and it was the 25th anniversary, and Jim was at the lunch, and he wasn't 100% health-wise, but it was an honour to sit at his table. So,
Con, you have to go and interview Stephen Bradley. They're actually calling you over, so thank you very much for stopping. And Stephen will be okay with it, because every time I turn up they win, and you can tell him if he's giving out to you. We'll get to Phelan Warren in just a second, who's sitting beside us here, and we'll talk a bit more about Jim McLaughlin. But Barry, before I let you go, we were talking about whether or not changes could have been made maybe in the second half to re-energise things, or is it just a case of Celje are a good team, and no matter what changes you made, no matter what was done, they would have created chances?
Yeah, they're an excellent team, striving for the first group stages themselves. They're not to be sniffed at, and it was a massive performance. But you look at who they did change. I think there's probably an issue with Jack maybe, and he didn't get the minutes he probably wanted to get on. But Graham Burke was probably lagging in the end as well, in extra time as well. But he made the choices at the right time. And listen, they were 2-0 up with the team he set out at the start. So it was just a brilliant night for Rovers.
Yeah, and they're into the group stages regardless. What does that mean for the club? What does that mean for the league even? Because I know people will say, well, it's good for Rovers, it's not good for anyone else. I would actually argue against that. I think it's good for the league.
Absolutely, it's good for the league. I'll tell you what, I was standing over before the game when Pats won the game earlier, and the amount of people saying that's brilliant, Pats getting their result earlier. And it is, because we're all about this league. We're like Shamrock Rovers fans as well, Pats fans, but it's about this league, progression in this league and exposure. And nights like that's got to be on the front page tomorrow. The Stephen Bradley standing behind the goal on the billboards in front of the fans, if not the back pages. But nights like that is... You're looking at politicians hanging on the coattails of these Olympians coming back with their medals, and I'm sure there'll be praise going to both teams tonight about teams getting to Europe. It's about time now they started backing these players, and it shows tonight, nights like tonight are really what this league is all about.
And it's about backing the academies as well.
Absolutely. You see, the under-15 teams were doing the ball boy duty here tonight. You saw them jumping and doing the Poznan in the crowd. They buy into it at that age, and that's where you need to get them, in areas like this, and in Chicor, and Shell's doing the thing out in Drumcondra as well. This is where you get them at this age. You hook them onto it, and this is where you produce athletes.
Last word on this performance before I let you go.
Just incredible, Oisin, and I was delighted with Pats. I was watching it as I was coming in this morning. Great performance from them, and just to be matched tonight by an equally good Shamrock Rovers performance. And it's probably the best 90 minutes, 120 minutes of the season. Just a phenomenal, really, really good performance.
Phelan, as a broadcaster of note, do you have any questions for Barry?
I'm still trying to get me head together, to be honest, after 120 minutes of just heroism, excitement, drama, frustration. It had everything that night, didn't it? Yeah. I'm just stuck for words at the minute, and I'm knackered.
And before I let Barry go, it's guys like him who were here when you were really struggling, and Barry could have gone to other clubs and he didn't. He loves this club. It's guys like him who've helped pave the way for nights like this.
Look, Rovers fans, and again, I'm not trying to blow smoke up Barry's backside, and I got to know Barry quite well the last year, so thankfully, first and foremost, he's a gentleman, but as you said, Barry has green and white blood. Any Rovers fan knows what Barry Murphy gave to this club. He was a Player of the Year on 2 occasions. Doesn't happen very often that a goalie gets Player of the Year twice. Well deserved. But Barry is a Rovers legend, in my opinion. A bloody good goalkeeper, as we know. And
a bloody good commentator.
And a bloody brilliant pundit, outstanding, and he's been popping up everywhere. I think there's more than one Barry Murphy at the moment, but there is only one Barry Murphy, really. So yeah.
Okay, Barry Murphy, thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you very much.
As well.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Cheers, Barry. See you soon, pal.
Phelan Warren, we'll talk more about the match itself in a few minutes, but. I didn't want to let the day go without remembering Jim McLaughlin, and I think Con spoke very well about him. And as we speak and look over to the far side, we can see Con interviewing Stephen Bradley. Try and explain to me, if you possibly can, what Jim McLaughlin meant to this club. And I think if I talked to a Dundalk fan, a Shelbourne fan and a Derry fan, they could probably say the exact same things as you're about to say.
Exactly. Well, Oisin, I'm like Con Murphy. I'm old enough to remember Jim McLaughlin taking over at Rovers. I was 17 when Jim took over in 1983. And the first thing I remember him saying was Shamrock Rovers was a sleeping giant. The team was kind of underachieving. We were thereabouts under Giles. Jim took over, and the first thing he did was let Alan O'Neill go. Wow. A Rovers legend. And we were saying, what's going on here? And Jody Byrne didn't cover himself in glory early on, but Jody went on to become a fantastic goalkeeper in that 4-in-row team. So Jim did it his way. Like I say, we were amazed that Alan went, but I spoke to Pat Byrne before the game. I know Pat slightly as well, and gave me condolences to Pat Byrne. Pat Byrne was the heartbeat of that 4-in-a-row team, and Jim McLaughlin's captain. And Pat just said the man was an incredible man manager, but an incredible manager for identifying the right players in the right positions. And he just said, go out and play. And they went out and played. Like the football Rovers played in that 4-in-a-row era was just outstanding. They were winners, they were tough, but they were brilliant footballers, and they were a brilliant team. When I heard the news today that Jim had passed, I said to myself, we have to win this tonight for Jim. And we did. And I saw John Cody after the game, and John, his eyes were moist, and I just said it to JC. I says, we all know who that was for tonight, John.
And it says an awful lot about Jim McLaughlin's legacy that fans young and old know the name.
Yes, exactly. We sing it every week, going down the Milltown Road to see McLaughlin's Aces, and fellas of 94 and kids of 4 know who that song is about. It's about Jim McLaughlin. Jim reawakened that sleeping giant in 1983. 3 glorious seasons, 3 titles, 2 doubles. Probably would have gone on to get more, and he couldn't resist the lure of his hometown Derry leaving. None of us wanted Jim to go. I'd say it was the hardest decision he probably ever had to make. But he proved himself again with Derry. I know half of the Rovers team went after Milltown was sold, but he still had to put a team together. He still had to win titles. So Jim is definitely is the greatest manager the League of Ireland has ever seen.
And he has achieved that most unique of things, to be loved by every club he worked with, and even outside of those clubs. I mean, I'm a Cork City fan and wouldn't have even been a League of Ireland kid. I only really started watching League of Ireland aged 18, 19. Yet I would have known who Jim McLaughlin was even growing up.
Yeah, it's incredible that the haul of success that Jim had from that Dundalk team in the 70s, then moving to Rovers, as you say, onto Derry, Shells. Whatever magic touch he had, as Pat Byrne said, he just knew how to put a team together in players in the right positions. But he was a tough man as well, as Con alluded to there with Fran Hitchcock. As a manager, sometimes you have to be bloody ruthless, to get success, and it worked. And the players, I from listening to the 4-in-a-row Rovers players over the years, every single one of them loved Jim McLaughlin. He could be a hard fecker at times, I'd say, but it worked. He got the success, and I'm sure the other teams who he managed, the other players would say exactly the same, that the guy was just a winner.
Isn't it funny how football evolves and it changes and the language around it changes, but yet everything you said there you could apply to all the great managers in the League of Ireland. Stephen Kenny, the man we're looking at over there on the far side, Stephen Bradley, maybe different characters to Jim, different types of people, but the same traits. And there's other guys I haven't mentioned there, like Dermot Keely, as well.
There's been so many brilliant managers, and look, but like you say, they're all different. They all bring something different to the table. The world would be a fairly boring place if the managers were all cut out of the same cloth. But you have to cut, as Stephen says a lot, you have to cut out a lot of the noise. And I think, Jim was at such big clubs, he just cut out the noise and just got on with the job, got the players in, got them playing good football. Not only did they win titles, but they won it playing really, really good football. Like they weren't functional teams; they were bloody good teams with great players. Even with Dundalk, I'm old enough to remember Barry Keogh, the late Barry Keogh. What a player he was, and he went to Dundalk, and that great Dundalk team, of which Dermot Keely was in it, and then Dermot, of course, not the manager, but Jim was just Jim was a one-off, and an incredible manager.
And people like him create nights like tonight, where we can forget whatever's going on in the world, and Lord knows there's enough to distract you and bring you down in this world, but tonight and nights like it for Pats and Rovers and even non-Pats and Rovers fans, it's like an oasis of joy, isn't it? Yeah,
well, look, I know we all have our rivalries in League of Ireland football. It's been a great night for League of Ireland football tonight, with Pats winning and us making it as well into the group stages now. Pats have probably I think one more to go. But Rovers are there. Where would we be without football? Like, thank God my dad was such a passionate football fan, and hung on his every word about football, and he started bringing me to matches, and then my late brother started bringing me to Milltown in around about 79, and so that was a few years before Jim came. But once the first league title rolled in with Jim, it was in my DNA then. Rovers was in my DNA, and there was no looking back then as a Rovers fan. Even through the bad days, when we all know we've had some really bad years, 22 years with no home. But Jim McLaughlin, as I said, reawakened the sleeping giant, and it was just we're thinking of Jim tonight. There's no doubt about that.
Phelan Warren, we have interacted an awful lot. This is the first time we've actually had an in-person conversation, and it was an absolute joy. Thank you very much for joining us on the Extratime.com. Thank you very much, Phelan. This is the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. That's Phelan Warren, well-known Shamrock Rovers broadcaster and a man who has followed this club all of his life, and I could think a few people better placed to pay tribute to Jim McLaughlin. Before him, we heard from Barry Murphy on a great night for Shamrock Rovers, beating Celja by 3-1 on the night and 3-2 on aggregate. So they've guaranteed group stage football. And I'll say it again, we don't know if it's going to be the Conference League or the Europa League, but either way, they've achieved group stage football, and that is something to be admired. St. Pat's, one more hurdle to jump over before they get group stage football, and given the performances of the last couple of weeks in Europe, there is belief they can do it. They overcame FC Vaduz, and then last night, as you listen, they had a 1-0 win away to Saba. El Bazedi with the goal in the second half. A deserved win for St. Pat's. The analysis of Keith Treacy to come. He joined me in a hotel room in Croke Park to do commentary of the game. We were doing it over the pictures that were being sent from Azerbaijan. I'm not sure how many of you were watching our feed, because after about 10 minutes it was painfully apparent the host broadcasters were not doing their job, but there was an alternative YouTube free feed which you all jumped on, so you listened to the Azerbaijani Oisin Langan. Anyway, we'll get the analysis of Keith Treacy in a while, but first here is St. Pat's manager Stephen Kenny on a great night for his team.
Yeah, it's delighted. The players were excellent and really thrilled with the performance. It's a difficult draw. We got the draw, we knew it was a difficult game, and I just want the players to really experience getting through the tie like that, having beaten Vaduz 5-3, scored 5 goals, and then we're playing a team that can score 6 against Maccabi Haifa, and we keep them for 180 minutes scoreless. So it's and win both games. So I'm just really delighted for them that it gives them confidence, because I'm learning about them. They're learning about me, and we're sort of improving together. And I think it's a big win for us, and we know we're going into a different environment in Istanbul, but that's what they're in it for. And the next round is really a gateway to sort of just a brilliant series of brilliant occasions. So they have to prepare now for that next week. And we just had a meeting to staff in there after about how we're going to prepare for next week. And so we need to get ready now and get ready for next week. Well, again, I haven't looked at the opposition, but I think when the opportunity exists for you to get into the group stages, that's a life changer for the players. You might have one game in Europe and you're knocked out. To have 12 games in Europe in a given season, just creates a lot of special moments for families, for all of the people who are part of the football journey. Creates really amazing memories, and that's what we must strive to. We've had that tonight now with an amazing win, but got to have a next week, obviously, a step up again in going into Istanbul and a bigger club again, and we've got to fight fire with fire and come up with a plan to cause them problems.
It is the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast, and I am joined by former Republic of Ireland international and former St. Pat's winger Keith Treacy in the unusual surrounds of Croke Park. Well, just outside Croke Park, because Keith, you and I watched St. Pat's overcome Saba 1-0 in the Croke Park Hotel. That's where the commentary of the feed came from. The game itself obviously was in Baku. St. Pat's getting through the tie 2-0 on aggregate, and it was a really good display over the two legs by Stephen Kenny's team, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was excellent, and I could sit here and I could talk about the wingers. I've been waxing lyrical about them in there over the two legs. Even against Vaduz, they were really, really good. El Bouzebi, Mulraney, Palmer getting better at every game I see them, but it was more out of possession. They thought they were absolutely excellent. Of course, in the first leg they went after Saba. They really created their own chances, but today we knew it was going to be hot, we knew it was going to be humid, we knew they wouldn't have that intensity in the press over 90 minutes, but when they did press, they did it really, really well. When Parma went and done it, nixed the ball, all of a sudden Sabra on the back foot for the rest of the game, given they're down to 10 men. So yeah, excellent performance. Probably not what I expected. I know Stephen Kenny's teams have free flow, attacking football, brilliant wing play, but the spine of the team is looking stronger and stronger every time I see it.
It's the pace that has made the difference, isn't it? He's getting the best out of Mulraney. We knew even before Stephen Kenny came what he's capable of when he's on. And he's added El Bouzedi, and of course Melia was there as well, and he knows how to stretch defences.
Yeah, that pace it really does frightens teams to death. And with Saba coming and standing on the halfway line, losing the man, they're going to roll that dice a little bit more. El Bouzedi, Mulraney are licking their lips thinking, get that ball into Palmer, I'll run in behind and we'll start making chances. And that's the way the game really panned out. El Bouzebi's header was lovely, made by Mulraney, but you can see the two fullbacks for Saba, they didn't want to go and engage because they were fearful that he'd just get skipped past. So Mulraney and El Bouzedi really did do the hard work in the first leg. They scared the two fullbacks to death, and yeah, excellent play all round in an attacking sense. Out possession, just as impressive.
It's very easy to say everything is great with St. Pat's when they win a game in Europe like this and win a tie and win the two legs, but we're saying it because it's true. I mean, we've talked about the pace, and of course the attackers always get the credit because they're the ones who come up with the moments that win games, but it's all based on a really solid back four, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I say, I know I've referenced Grogowski and Redmond coming back together. They both had their injury worries over the last 6 to 12 months, but both coming back, both playing games more and more often with each other. And I do think it's the key to Pat's success. I think if you keep those two fit and you keep them together, obviously with Solberg and Anto Breslin, a natural left footer playing left back, a natural right footer playing right back, it's a huge help. And with Jamie Lennon and Chris Forrester being allowed off the leash, Lennon keeping the house, he's the one sniffing the danger. As I said, the spine is getting stronger and stronger, and we look like we can go and hurt anybody with the players we have in an attacking sense.
Now, as you and I speak, as the train passes by Croke Park here, we don't know who they're playing. We suspect it'll be the Turkish team. You know the name of it. Bursaspor? No, not. Sorry, Bursaspor are a basketball team that I've commentated on from Turkey. But no matter who it is, all jokes aside, they won't have any fear, and they are unlikely to win that tie because it's another step up and all that. Well, I say that, Stephen Kenny won't though, but they'll be full of confidence going into the next round, whoever they're playing. 180 minutes from playoff football, from group stage football, I should say.
Yeah, and there's no reason for Pats to be fearful. They've earned the right to be here. They didn't get a couple of boys and all of a sudden they found themselves at this round. They've went and beat Vaduz, they've went and beat Saba, and we can speak about the quality of Saba maybe not being to the standard required, but going to Baku in the heat and winning over there is a tough thing to do anyway. So yeah, look, I think Pat should enjoy the night, the fans should enjoy the night, because I think every win in Europe for any Irish team should be celebrated. So, they've got through 2 rounds now, Pats, they got a bye in the first round. It's excellent stuff, and whoever the opponents are, it's something to be relished and not to be feared.
As we speak, we don't know where it'll be broadcast. We're not even sure where it'll be held. I suspect Tallaght Stadium, but those details will be unveiled over the next couple of days. If it's Virgin, you'll be part of it, and I'll be kicked to the curb again, Keith. I'll be all by myself. But I don't mind, because these games should be seen by the biggest possible audience. League-wise, it's a big ask, but can St. Pat's use the momentum of Europe to win enough games to get into the top 3, top 4? Do you think it's possible, or do you think the fact that they've got Europe, it's too much of a distraction and maybe the squad isn't quite deep? What do you think?
Well, look, I think the performances are there, the talent is there, and I do think the league performance, or the league where we are in the league right now, can get an awful lot better. Can we go and make a race for Europe? Yes, possibly, but we need that consistency in the league. As we've seen in Europe, we turned up for the 2 legs in Vaduz, we've turned up for the 2 legs for Saba, but in the league it's been in and out, and we've been drawing games. We haven't been quite able to stand on other teams' throats when we are on top. So there's no reason we can't bring that into the league, but while we're in Europe, I do think it'll be very, very difficult with the travelling, with work rate involved, to be churning out those players, your likes of Lennon, Forrester, Mulraney, El Bouzedi, Palmer, who's only just coming back to full fitness. Aidan Keane is not quite at full fitness, so there will be a lot of squad rotation, and whether or not the Pats squad is deep enough to go and compete in Europe over the next 2 legs and go up the table at the same time, I'm not too sure, but Stephen Kenny will definitely say the answer is yes.
One last question. Palmer, there's a possibility he could go. He's available to go. Pats are trying to hang on to him. How important is it that they do that?
I think it's very important. I think he's that player that you can fizz the ball into in the middle of the pitch. Even when he's marked, he can wriggle free from players, and he's that calm and influence. We spoke about how good Chris Forrester has been for over the years for St. Pat's, being so composed on the ball in the middle of the pitch, and Palmer can do that for you as well, and he has that little switch as well, a little swivel of the hips, leave people for dead, and all of a sudden he's the opposite side of the midfield. So I think it's imperative he stays, but I'm sure Stephen Kenny will be saying we're not a one-man team either.
You've done a lot in your footballing life, but did you ever think that you'd be commentating on a European game while looking out onto Croke Park? Well, looking at Croke Park. We're not looking out onto the pitch. We're not in Croke Park. We're at the Croke Park Hotel.
No, my life has brought me to do some weird and wonderful things, but this is just as weird, Oisin, staying in a hotel with you for a couple of hours now out Crow Park talking about a game that happened in back queue. It's wonderful stuff. It's great. I love it.
The weird and wonderful world of the League of Ireland in Europe. Keith Treacy, thanks for joining us on the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast.
Cheers, Oisin.
So that's almost it for the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcasts. As I talk to you, it's Thursday night. If you're listening on Friday morning, then you have a lot to look forward to tonight in the Sports Direct Men's FAI Cup. Waterford take on Athlone, Ballyfermot against Wexford, Drogheda taking on Wilton, Treaty United meet Pike Rovers, Cork City against Derry City, and Shelbourne taking on Galway United. On Saturday in the Cup, it's Sligo Rovers hosting UCD, and in the Avenir Sports All-Ireland Cup final, which is live on TG Cahir at 7:35, it's Shamrock Rovers against Galway United. In the Women's Premier Division at 2, it's Shelbourne against Athlone. At 6, it is Peamount taking on Wexford. One game in the Cup on Sunday, Kerry welcoming Bohemians to Mount Hawke Park, and in the Women's Premier Division, it is Sligo Rovers against Treaty United. It's been a great night in Europe for the Irish clubs. A joyous night, but also a sad night because we lost the legend that is Jim McLaughlin, and we're all thinking of his friends and family and all the former players who played under him, because judging from what Phelim and Com are saying, they all absolutely adored him. From Tallaght Stadium, where it's all gone quiet, it's goodbye from me, Oisin Langan, and all the Extratime.com team. And don't forget, you can talk to us via social media at extratime.com. You can also find us, you can send us a WhatsApp voice note, and the message or the number is on extratime.com. That's it from me. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.